Our favourite nutritionist to the stars, Sarah Di Lorenzo, is in for our Friday afternoon catch-up. Hey there.
Hi, Ed.
Nice to have you with us. You know, one of the biggest reactions we had was about a chat we did a couple of weeks ago with Iridology.
Yes.
Staring deep into the window of the soul, into the eyes, but all the amazing feedback you can get just by looking at the various segments of the eyes and so on. And I think you're still fielding questions about it now, so I thought it might be worthwhile delving a little bit deeper into it too.
Yes, absolutely. Since that segment 2 weeks, I think that was 2 weeks ago, I've had so much interest. People are really fascinated with iridology.
Or they say, what's that?
So iridology is the study of the iris. So for everyone listening, the iris is the coloured part of our eye. Mm-hmm. So when an iridologist looks into the iris, we look at the disease associations. Mm-hmm. We will look for the levels of disease. And for me, it's just something that what I love about iridology and why I include it in my clinical practice is because I get a really good holistic overview of a person. I can look at their genetic susceptibilities. I can look at their disease tendency, personality characteristics. There is so much that an iris will really reveal about someone. I can look at, it's almost like looking into the future of someone's health. I can give them treatment recommendations, guidelines. It is really a holistic tool on the general environment of someone. So
clever. And like, if you imagine a compass, right, with all the various degrees all the way around it, some sections, say at the east, that little segment will indicate something, say around your liver. Yes. Something down the south will be something different, and every little area in between gives you some guidelines. And if there's some sort of blotch or inflammation there, you can see it.
Well, they're called zones. So we break it. They look like rings around the eye, breaking out starting from the pupil. So there's 7 zones. So the first zone is the stomach, and then it goes into intestines, and then the third zone is the heart and adrenal glands and other glands. Going into the 4th and 5th zones is usually some organs. Then going out further towards the outer border of the iris, you get into musculoskeletal, the circulatory system and lymphatic system, and the integumentary system, which is the skin system, which is the outer border of the iris. So, it's fascinating.
And so clear eyes indicates clear health, obviously, but any other little sort of flags pop up? Red flags?
Loads of flags, definitely. So there's different iris signs that we can look at. So there's different markings that will come up that will flag different stages. I mean, there's stages of health, but there's signs that can mean various things. So just to go through a little bit about iris signs, we have things like there's names in iridology that kind of relate to objects and fibres and fabrics, and that's how an iridologist talks. So using some iridology language, we have a lymphatic rosary, which is looks like little pearls in the lymphatic zone, and that actually I will see that if in someone who generally drinks a lot of alcohol or who has some lymphatic congestion. We can see things like scurf ring. I can see anxiety.
Scurf ring.
A scurf ring outside, which actually shows that there's skin conditions. Okay. I can see things like nerve rings, which will show anxiety. There's little crypts which show degeneration of tissue.
Right.
Yeah, so there's a lot of it. There's what's radius solaris, another one which indicates any kind of parasitic infections. Or
why do we think we've evolved to have these markers show up in our eye as a matter of interest?
It's just fascinating. It's sort of like reflexology, but do you want to know a little bit about the history of iridology?
Yeah, I'd love to.
Okay, so look, they can trace it back to 1000 BC. They can trace it back to the Babylonians, but in the 18th century, there was a Hungarian physician called Ignaz von Pexley, and he was at age 11 playing in his backyard, and he was fighting with an owl. He actually broke the owl's legs, and he noticed as soon as he broke the owl's leg, he actually noticed in the big iris of an owl, he noticed instantly a black line. So being kind of medically orientated as a little kid, he nursed the owl, and he watched the healing process, and he watched it go from white, which is inflammation, then go to grey, and then to be a permanent mark. And he actually then discovered this through nursing an owl. The owl actually never left his backyard. So that's the history. He's called the father of iridology.
Wow.
It's interesting. But I find it fascinating. For me as a nutritionist, when I have people come into my clinic, using that as a diagnostic tool really helps me give people the best treatment I can give them. I look at for anyone, if they've come for weight loss or whatever they come for, when I do the iridology, I will know in my treatment programming and planning how to treat tweak them. So I use a lot of life coaching in my consultations, as well as I use psychology to really, my objective is I really don't care. I want to get you the result that you want to get, and I want you to get what you've come to see me for. So Iridology will show me how to plan. So if someone who, like you, Ed, came and saw me when I did your Iridology a couple of weeks ago.
Well, I didn't come to see you. I was trapped here in my studio, cornered like an owl. A barn owl that was shackled to the corner of the panel.
And I'm the Hungarian physician.
Yeah.
Okay, so if hypothetically I was doing a treatment plan for you,
yes,
I would say, okay, because you've got that very strong silk constitution, so you recuperate well. You've got you're motivated. You have a high pain threshold. But I would be just like giving you a program, and I'd say, a silk constitution is someone who's compliant and motivated. So I would be able to say, all right, Ed, here we go. This is going to work for you. And you go, okay, good, I'm going to do it. So that's
What are the other constitutions? Silky sounds, it's not the toughest thing going around, but it's a lovely fabric, don't get me wrong.
They also can be stubborn. So going through, there's 5... So when I look at someone's constitution, first of all, I look at the fibres and how they're positioned. Second of all, I'll look at their physical characteristics, personality characteristics. I'll look at their disease tendencies, and then I will go into what treatment recommendations there are for that constitutional type. So going through the types, we have silk. So the silk person, like yourself, is someone who has a really strong constitution. So you really wouldn't get sick. And then the next one, so you move down to the next one, which is cotton. So these people, the cotton person, they kind of tend to get a little bit more into, maybe if they're going to have any kind of disease tendencies, they will be more to do with musculoskeletal. So they might end up a little bit arthritic. So I know that already. This is the other great thing about iridology. If you pick up these kind of what your constitution type is like earlier on in life, you can actually address that with magnesium or different foods.
Wow.
So you can actually age really well. Yeah, it's like looking into the future of your health.
Does the colour of your eye matter at all in this?
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. Okay, so there is only 2 true eye colours, brown and, of course, blue. So throughout life, we have things called a heterochromia, which we develop. That's a colour film. So there's different. So a heterochromia will basically show genetic vulnerability and disease susceptibility. So there's all these different washes and the colour films that will develop over the iris, over time, over life, over genetics or whatever. So the true blue baby might end up with a yellow heterochromia, and they kind of look like they've got more of a green eye. And then you might have someone who's and then if you have someone who's got a brown eye, who's got a white wash over it, well, they might look like they've got light brown eyes. So it actually affects the eye colour. But there's different reasons. So to go through the colours and what they mean. So someone who's got you can see the person who's got that real white wash about their eye. There's someone, they're quite acidic. They're going to end up being arthritic. They might be a bit gouty. But they're people who produce a lot of catarrh or phlegm because they are quite acidic. So heterochromias are things that, as I said, they're disease susceptibilities and vulnerabilities. So you want to address them. So the next one is a beige one. People who get that beige colour film, they end up having people who have weight fluctuations, as well as they might have fluid imbalances. Then we move down to a yellow heterochromia, and that's usually to do with kidney hyperfunctioning or uric acid dysfunction.
Or you could be an owl.
Oh, yeah, you could be an owl. And then the next one would be an orange. So orange colour film. Yeah, that's fascinating. You're loving iridology. I love it. It's fabulous. So the brown one is orange is to do with pancreas. So it looks at blood sugar, insulin.
Amazing.
Yeah, going on to brown, looking at blood and bile, and then the red colour film is all about hormonal imbalances.
Sounds a little like Bloodshot, but yeah, okay, red. The red film through it.
Well, that's the real, that's just over the iris.
Yeah. Fascinating stuff. Well, look, you peered into my eyes, gazed wistfully at me.
Yep.
I think we should take a little break and come back with a friend of yours, as you are, the nutritionist to the stars.
Thank you.
And perform another iridology analysis here and see how we go.
Fantastic.
All right, Sarah De Lorenzo is with us. We're going to have a special guest in the studio right after this as well. A little break, coming back with more here on Talking Life. lifestyle. Great to have your company. It's Ed Phillips with you across your Friday afternoon. Sarah Di Lorenzo is here. We have our Friday catch-up with the Innovational Nutritionist, and we've brought a friend into work today too. The lovely Sophie Faulkner has joined us in the studio. Hi, Soph.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Well, great to have you in the studio with us as well. Now, you've known Sarah for a while too and submitted yourself to her incredibly thorough health programs as well.
Absolutely. I saw Sarah. We've become very close friends, and she's a busy working mum. She's a single mum, and she's got a six-pack. She's always positive. She's always happy. And I thought, I want a bit of that.
Get me some of that.
Yeah.
Well, it's hard because I know you've spent most of your working career zigzagging around doing fabulous travel stories, still on Channel 7 doing those, and working on something new as well. New show. What can you tell us?
Yes, I'm currently filming Luxury Escapes, the world's best holidays. It's a tough gig, but somebody has to do it, right?
What's the world's best holiday? What's the best escape that you've been on so far?
Oh, I've been on so many.
I know you have.
It's really hard. I've loved some times. I've had in Africa, in the Seychelles, New York, and of course Italy has to be one of my favourites as well.
To make us feel a little bit better, Soph, tell us that you get to these amazing locations, the crew's there, you're under the timing pump, you get 7 seconds in the beautiful location, one take, pack your suitcase and go to the next one.
Pretty much.
Oh, thank goodness. Okay. You're not reclining on a hammock in Fiji.
There is some cocktails after shooting most nights, I have to say, which isn't very healthy. Don't listen, Sarah. But no, it's pretty much, you're working non-stop.
Yeah, I mean, people always say, the best job on TV would be the travelling shows. And I go, well, from what I've heard, you don't get to relax on a cruise for 2 weeks. You get to show a snapshot of what the cruise is like for 4 minutes.
Yeah, and it's really hard to be healthy because you're up at 5:30 in the morning and you're shooting all day and you're given food. You can't choose what you want because you're at restaurants and you're at hotels, so they just give you crew food. And often that's fried and it's horrible and lots of bread and lots of carbs and everything Sarah hates.
Yes.
And you don't have a choice and you're hungry because you're working and you need the energy, so you eat it, and then you're up so early and doing such a long day, usually to about 10 o'clock at night. So there's no time to exercise really either.
There's no rhythm to it too, because what you did last week will change this next week.
Correct. So it's really hard to stay focused, but Sarah's really helped me with that and talked me through ways that I can stay healthy while I'm travelling, which has been awesome.
Jet lag, the dreaded J word, right?
Correct.
Oh, okay. Well, look, are you prepared to submit to a bit of iridology? Sarah, talk us through it. You've brought your little torch.
So I'm using my torch and I've got a magnifying glass. So I'm just going to hold it up to Sophie's eye.
You're going to be our owl.
So she's our owl. So Sophie's got a true blue eye, and she's also got what I call a small autonomic nerve wreath. So Sophie's someone who would be indicated to have 5 to 6 meals a day, as opposed to having...
That's no news to me.
5 to 6 small meals a day, as opposed to having 3 larger meals. So she would need that for her metabolic rate. I'm looking at her cardiovascular system now, which is really clear.
So you're kind of just working your way through the certain rings of the eye radiating out in certain sections.
So when I look at someone's eye, I look at the wreath, and that shows me how her bowel is, and her bowel's in a good position now.
Thank goodness. I'm glad my bowel's okay on live radio.
So then I look through. So that's called the autonomic nerve wreath, and I'm looking through and generally looking at her fibres. So Sophie, like you, is she's got a silk constitution.
Hey,
so
Snap.
Snap, we're both tough.
What's up, Silky?
I like that.
Back at you, baby.
Does anywhere indicate her foul temper at all?
No!
Just joking. I'm joking.
I thought we were friends.
You're joking.
There is nowhere that... and Sophie actually doesn't have a heterochromia, so she hasn't got any of those...
What's that mean?
That's the colour film. So she's actually...
blue eyes.
She's got a beautiful clear blue eye as well. I can see that her cardiovascular system's working really well. I can see that she's someone who's got a high pain tolerance. She's very motivated. When she puts her mind to something, she's going to do it. She's very strong-willed.
Hell yeah.
And but yeah, it's quite interesting. And also looking through her pupil size. So she has a small pupil, which means she's got a dominance of the parasympathetic nervous system.
Because you're shining a giant bright light into her face.
No, it's not. But
of course it's going to go.
It's not. So then it's and then looking at that, the pupil size, you can see that with that dominance of the parasympathetic nervous system, she's someone who's more about rest and digest than fight and flight. So she copes well in situations. You know, she's someone who who will manage and cope well instead of being fight and flight.
And as it turns out, beautiful mascara today.
Yeah, she's got gorgeous mascara.
Glad you noticed.
And also looking in the whites of the eyes. So that's the other thing. The sclera is the white of the eye.
Does each eye reveal the same information too, Sarah?
No, they're different.
Okay.
Yeah, you can see slight differences in the eyes, but Sophie's are generally the same. And but the whites of the eyes, if you see little things like her whites are really clear. So I look for things when I look at the whites of someone's eyes, like varicose veins. I can see hypertension. I can see high blood pressure. I can see concussion. There's a lot of little things that I can see anemia, and that's how the blood vessels are positioned in the sclera, which is the whites. And so when you look at someone, you can see they're really healthy by the whites of their eyes. But looking at Sophie now, like she's got a really clean, clear, healthy eye. All her systems are working well. I can't see any hyperfunctioning or any underfunctioning of anything. Her
I'm not dying anytime soon.
And there's no parasites, Ed.
Yes, good.
Ed's been, there's no radius solaris, which is the parasitic sign.
This is a win. This is a glowing, healthy report.
I'm winning.
Yeah.
But she's also been on the SDL method. She's my patient, and she's compliant, and she follows her diet recommendations as best as she can with her work, and also feeding her children as well.
Yeah, that's important too.
Is.
Have you been trying any sort of intermittent fasting, which Sarah's so positive about?
I have, and I love it because I've got a really big appetite and I like to eat a lot. And I don't like dieting. I've never dieted.
Yeah, right.
But with the fasting, I can kind of handle it because it's only for a short space of time.
Yeah.
And then I can go back to my regular eating, which I love. And it's really doable.
Is it doable, say, if you're on a flight and you'd have some fairly long flights once in a while? Do you kind of set yourself, I'm just not going to have any airline food? It's probably not a bad thing to miss out on?
No, I couldn't do it on a flight. I need a champers on a flight.
Okay. It's not strictly fasting, is it?
No. I usually do it like on a Monday or a Wednesday, and I pre-prepare what I'm going to have. I stick to it. I make sure I have no social engagements because it's hard if you want to have a wine with a friend or go to a restaurant. And I don't do any hard exercise. I just go for gentle walks so I don't need more energy.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Now, important question. Your beautiful children, you have now a teenager, for goodness sakes.
No.
And Oscar as well, following hot on Isabella's heels. Did they watch what you're doing and sort of take note?
Look,
I am the best example to set.
Yeah, look, I'm a very healthy cook, and I don't get processed food for my kids at all, and I get free range, and they have a lot of good proteins and colourful fruits and vegetables at all times. But in terms of the fasting, I try and hide that from my daughter, especially because I say sometimes I'm doing things for health reasons, but I think it's really important not to diet in front of young kids.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think that you need to set that example, and I make sure, I say I had dinner or a big lunch earlier or something, so I white lie a little bit.
Yeah.
But I just think you need to be really careful, especially with teens.
Yeah,
because they're going through all that, body image stuff at the moment, and I don't like talking about dieting, or I never say, oh my goodness, I look bad, or do I look fat in this, ever. To my daughter. I'm very, very positive, and because of that, she's got a positive body image herself.
How fantastic. I mean, body image starts when kids are 5, 6, 7. They're saying these days with social media, all the pictures they have access to via their phones and iPads.
Exactly.
So it's something to be on top of.
It's horrific.
The blissful irony I note is that with Sarah's girls, one says she's a vegan, one has finicky food, the other's even more difficult. And so this one's cooking all day long to get them all happy. It brings me some joy, Sarah, as the healthiest one in the room.
It is challenging. My children are challenging. I mean, look, they are other people who do come into my home are like, wow, your kids are super healthy. So based on my benchmark. But I have gone through the vegetarian teenage girl. I've gone through different phases, and it is challenging. And I think like with Sophie, I'm very careful with children about body image. I'm very careful about using the F word, and by that I mean fat. I would never use that kind of word in front of girls. I think it's important for girls to, and I think the world's changing, and it's very important for people just to see good health in children. And my kids are. It's interesting that I have the most challenging ones. Yeah, but I don't talk about. I think they see my work and they hear me talking, and they also see me eating. But I mean, just little things in my house, like just things. I mean, I use a lot of different grains, and I might do sweet potato for toast instead of regular toast, or I'll do they have bone broth in the mornings with rice, but they think it's chicken soup with a bit of rice. So there's a lot of things that they have everything they have everything gluten free, and they have everything as organically as I can afford, being a single mum. But yeah, it's interesting. But I think laying that foundation now, and also parents are role models.
Absolutely. The thing is, they probably don't shout out all the benefits because they don't realise, and they're unseen benefits. Through the winter months when everyone's sick and run down, they're probably just bouncing off the walls and super healthy. So,
I actually prep them for winter with I do a bit of vitamin C loading, and I'm very careful. Some more zinc-rich foods, and so I'll do stuff like that with them throughout the winter so they don't get sick because I'm working mum.
Yeah, but how great having your own live-in nutritionist at your place. It'd be awesome. Your daughters are very lucky. Just a quick rundown of the amazing benefits of some intermittent fasting. And we're talking about getting your fork and knife down, having your final meal of the day by 6, 7 p.m. And then just
so which type of fasting?
I like you're intermittent, and then you sort of delay your breakfast the next morning. So you get a good kind of 16-hour. Yeah.
Okay, so this is I've got all different types of fasting.
I know. Give me the one I can remember.
I think the one you kind of gravitated towards was the 16-8.
Yeah.
So that's where you wake up in the morning. There's nothing until 10 a.m. So before 10 a.m. you have either black coffee, black tea, or water, and then at 10 a.m. you have your first meal. The thing about this is it's you have your meals within 8 hours. That's the 8 hours of eating. So timing is really important. So 10 a.m. you have a really fantastic breakfast. Have some eggs with some smoked salmon, a nice proper breakfast. Of course, gluten free. I'm not going to go into the gluten thing now. And lunch would be around 1 o'clock, between 1 and 2, and then have a chicken salad, have some grains in there, some quinoa, whatever you like, and then last meal would start prepping that about 5. Knife and fork down by 6. Therein again another healthy meal.
Yep.
So the thing about the success with fasting is the meals have to be healthy. You can't fast and then go and eat junk because you just defeat the purpose.
Yep.
Then from 6 p.m. until you go to bed. Little tips for staying on that: keep busy, go and watch a movie. You can't chew gum; it's got sugar in it. Then the next morning, wake up. You can have black tea and black coffee and water again until 10 a.m. So there's your 24 hours. So
for someone like non-stop feeder Sophie, who needs 6 meals a day,
6 small meals.
Small meals. Do you try and do that on an intermittent day?
No, you can't. You could do that. You could do the small meals if you're doing calorie restrictions. So that's the 500 calories. So you could
tried for you, Sophie.
No,
thank you. It is really doable though, and when I did it, I realised how much I was actually overeating. I went to Sarah at one point in time, and I hadn't weighed myself in a year, just thinking I'm not going to weigh myself, I'll be fine. And when I did, I'd put on 6 kilos. And so I went to Sarah, and she got it off immediately. And I didn't realise I was eating really healthy food, but I was eating too much of it. My portions were all wrong, and instead of having just a little bit of hummus in the afternoons, I was having the whole tub, which wasn't great. So just doing food diaries and looking at what you're doing really pinpoints where the problems are.
Yeah, so clever. And a little analysis from all points of the compass from our eyes.
Yes.
Okay, so if people would like to find out more, and you can consult around the country essentially with Skype interviews and online. Yeah.
Yes.
So try out sdlmethod.com for Sarah Di Lorenzo. And you can do Iridology down FaceTime too, can't
I can do FaceTime,
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
No owl is safe around the country. How about that? Thank you, lovely ladies.
Thanks
Good luck with the new show, Soph. We'll see you on the
Thank you.
TV again soon in this fabulous new role.